Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Illegal Pancakes podcast. Now, we've been kind of busy lately. Haven't really been putting out too much videos, and well, the reason why is because Bethesda or Microsoft or whoever the hell you want to call the owners now just dropped this awesome new port of the original Quake, which is 25 years old as of crap. What day was it that they dropped that?
Sometime in June, but that's okay. It was like the end of June.
Right.
The important thing is that, to give a quick review, it's a source port, but it's also kind of a remake because they kind of update some of the models. But if you're looking to play Quake, this is now the definitive way to play, and it's really good.
Yeah, the only real complaint we have at the moment is that the multiplayer netcode or whatever you want to call it is still kind of janky.
And the lighting is messed up a little bit on some of the levels, but unless you're a hardcore fan, you're not going to notice.
Yeah, we haven't tried LAN yet, so we don't know
Yeah.
how that pans out.
But it's pretty cool that, a game like Quake gets to have this sweet new source port and it gets to, be able to play it in a better way. And obviously, it's not really that big a surprise that this came out. And before it came out, there was lots of leaks happening and teases towards a Quake remake. And that got a lot of us thinking about what if there was a full-fledged Quake remake, sort of like there was with Doom.
Yeah. So tonight we're gonna talk about wish lists that we have of things we'd want to see in said remake.
Yeah, list of demands.
Oh yeah, a list of demands. We're gonna demand now. Yeah. So we hope you're listening, Bethesda or Microsoft or Hugo.
Or Keck Studios, or id, or Sandy Peterson, or my mom, or anyone.
Anyone.
All right.
All right. So, where do we want to start with this?
Well, let's start with whatever is the first bullet point we have.
Okay, let's go with your list of bullet points. So your first thing that you had is make it scary.
Oh, yes, that's true. So people seem to forget that Quake is it's kind of scary. And I know it seems weird to say that an older game is scary, but I have a theory. Maybe I'll do a video on it someday. Actually, I should stop saying that. I don't think I'll ever do a video on it. But I have a feeling that like older games are kind of scarier just because the older graphics and stuff kind of forces you to use your imagination, and therefore things become a lot more creepier in your head. That's why people say that the Doom games from the 90s are scarier than Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. Um,
But think about it. I mean, as much as I like Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, if you're going to do a Quake remake, a good way that would try to make it separate from those games is if you did try to add a little bit more of a horror element to it. Just make it a little scarier.
yeah, especially since I know I mentioned in our Halloween recommendations last year that I considered Doom to be a horror game, but Quake is much more like leaning in that direction than even Doom was. Like,
When they were making Doom, they had a pretty good idea of what they wanted. And when they were doing Quake, they were just throwing random crap together. And because of that, it's like this weird cocktail of sci-fi and fantasy and shooting. And it just comes off as this weird, just different thing. And that's kind of what I think makes the game stand out so much, is because it is such a weird Lovecraft, weird mystery. You go through, you play the levels, you have no idea what's going on, where you're at, and that's kind of creepy. It's kind of scary. And I think it'd be really cool to see a modern take on that, of just being dived into this weird realm of castles and shadows and stuff.
yeah, oppressive environments, really messed up looking enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good way to do it.
All right. The next thing you had on the list was don't screw up multiplayer.
Yes. So, Doom Eternal was going to have this thing called Invasion Mode, and then it didn't happen. But then they had this thing called Battle Mode. Is it Battle Mode?
Yeah, battle mode.
Yeah. See, I don't even know what it's called. Battle Mode, which is in the game, but I have to admit, I don't really like it that much. I mean, it's kind of cool that you can play as the demons, but just keep it the way it was.
Yeah, I will like battle mode is original. I will give it that, but I personally have not like really enjoyed it that much. For one, I play on Xbox One, so it's really hard for me to actually find people that are playing it. Like I get a lot of people that end up either like just dropping the middle of the match or away from controller, which if you're playing as a demon and you don't have a teammate, you're pretty much screwed unless you're like really really freaking good, which I am not.
Yeah.
And I never play as Doomslayer because I'm not good at Doomslayer.
Yeah. So obviously, Quake is mostly famous for its multiplayer. I haven't played much of Quake Champions, but the little bit I did, I had a lot of fun on. So I don't think they would screw it up, but obviously, don't do it. Don't do anything creative or weird. Just leave it how it is. Run around the map, pick up the guns, get the quad damage, keep bouncing around. That's all you need. Just do Quake 3. No one's going to complain about that.
Yeah, or even if you wanted to make it a little bit more modern, you could do what they did with Champions. Not have, champion characters, just have it be a generic like ranger guy, but you get to pick out, your starting weapon. Like I think your choice was like a machine gun, a shotgun, or
Yeah.
there was a third, a
I
nail
think you
gun.
get like a laser gun or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played Champions. I just knew that much. So yeah, something like that. Don't do what they did for 2016 with the stupid ass loadouts, the generic ammo that's shared between all weapons, the dumbass glory kills.
Just don't worry about that.
Yeah, just don't overthink it.
Yep.
All right. Now here's a. Would this be No, this wouldn't be controversial. So you have bring back Trent Reznor, except you spelled it Reznor.
My bad.
No, you're good. So yeah, bring back Trent Reznor. So one of the things that gets brought up whenever anyone talks about the original Quake is its soundtrack, which was composed by the frontman to Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and I think some other members of his band are involved. I'm not sure to what extent because it's not a very musical soundtrack.
Yeah, so Quake has this very atmospheric soundtrack, which when I was talking about the game being creepy, that's one of the reasons why, is it just has this really dark, kind of unnerving ambient soundtrack. And, if you're going to remake Quake, if you're going to put all your money into it, just get Trent Reznor to come back. He would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's busy. I know I think he's actually on tour right now. But get him back. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. And another, for some reason he's not available, which, I don't know how busy it is, but if he's still touring, I assume he is a little bit. That was a mishmash of a sentence. Try going for something along that route. I mean, you don't even have to make it a full-on ambient soundtrack. Just me personally, I like more melodic stuff that can evoke atmosphere or evoke a certain mood. Good example of that in games is going back to Doom is the song Sign of Evil.
Yeah.
Castlevania, you got Crystal Teardrop, Tower of Mist both from Symphony of the Night. There are a couple more examples from there I can't really think of off the top of my head. Think of the names of off the top of my head. But yeah, and just something like that. I mean, maybe even Aubrey Hodges. I don't know what he's doing. He did the music for the Nintendo 64 port. His is kind of along the same lines, maybe not as in. Where am I going with this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his is along the same lines. Maybe try him, but you don't really want maybe as active of a soundtrack.
Yeah. Just don't do Quake 2 soundtrack. As much as I love Quake 2 soundtrack, it's great. Yeah. But if you're gonna make a remake of Quake 1, you don't want that music. You want to have it something else.
Yeah, and this might be controversial, but you also don't want a Mick Gordon-esque soundtrack, which is
yeah, surprise, surprise, we're making fun of Mick Gordon again.
Yeah, which, I mean, saying that is I know people like his music, and I know he's a good composer. It's just I don't think his Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal style of music is appropriate for a game like Quake.
Yeah.
Where you don't want to be what's the word? You don't want to get into that action too much, or
you don't want it to be too upbeat and too pusher music.
Yeah, you want the the oppressiveness of it, or like whatever. And I don't know, I don't really get that from his music. I don't want to be like wanting to headbang to a Quake soundtrack. I just want it, stuff to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow.
Keep the music in the background, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's better. Have less of a presence.
Mm-hmm.
I should have led with that. All right. So, another thing to kind of add is don't mess up the movement / speed of the player, kind of like they did in Doom Eternal. Now, if you play the original Quake, you'll notice that by default, always run is on. And you don't want to turn it off because for some reason they made walking really, really slow in that game. But yeah, Quake is a really fast game in terms of movement. Maybe combat's a little bit slower paced than the original because they made the monsters very, very beefy. But movement is really, really important. And kind of like, well, what they did with 2016 and Eternal, you don't really have a dash, or you don't have like a run button. And Doom Eternal, you have a dash, which kind of becomes a crutch for movement. And I'd rather just have a faster movement speed.
Yeah.
In total. And there is a bit of platforming too in the original Quake. But at the same time, I don't think the controls or like the movement felt as floaty as it did in Eternal. So I guess kind of like, yeah, just use that as more of like what you're aiming for.
Make sure that you implement like rocket jumping into the single player as well.
Yeah, that was one thing I was kind of upset you couldn't really do in Doom Eternal. Like I tried, but like the explosions don't really push you anywhere. Just weird. Not even grenades. Well, grenades don't seem to damage you at all. But yeah, I just want a really fast movement. Yeah, you might as well just make it always run. Don't even have an option to walk. Don't have any of the dash stuff like Eternal. Make it just floaty enough where it isn't like weird, because like even, yeah, I guess I'll bring up another example from Eternal. It's like if you have the one like speed boost power up, or the one rune that if you
the glory kill one?
Yeah, the glory kill one where you speed up. If you glory kill someone, you just like fly all over the place. A little too much floaty and a little too much speed.
Yeah.
But yeah. My goodness.
Next point, we're going to do Lovecraft themes.
Oh yeah, we are doing Lovecraft themes. My goodness.
So, of course, you guys who don't know, H.P. Lovecraft, he was this author, and he wrote a bunch of racist stuff, and we really think that racism is kind of the inner rooting of Quake, and that, for the Quake to have the true experience, it really has to be, directed towards upper class people from the East Coast. Just kidding.
Yeah.
That was all a joke. If you want to cut that out, that's probably a good idea. I don't think we'll get canceled, but, it could happen.
Yeah, you almost said something intelligent there. Oh my. Yeah, I might have to cut that out. Damn it.
Yeah.
That made that sound worse. But so going back to the original game. So Sandy Peterson, one of the OG guys, well, OG-ish guys at id, very big into H.P. Lovecraft, and
a lot of those elements got pushed over. Like I said, Quake 1 didn't really have much of a direction because it's kind of a weird mishmash between a lot of different themes. Lovecraft being a huge theme in that. Obviously, the final boss, Shub-Niggurath, is, from one of H.P. Lovecraft's books.
Along with, like, the Shambler enemies and the Spawn, I think, are somehow related.
Yeah.
Cathan or Chthon, however the hell you pronounce it. And a
Thon.
lot of the names of the
different
maps,
levels.
are from Lovecraft stories, like the Vaults is in Nameless City. So yeah, like
I said before, one of the cool things about Quake is that there's just all these things that are just almost incomprehensible. There's no explanation as to why you go into this portal and there's these weird old castles and stuff like that. And that's a very Lovecraft thing, to just have these, beings that exist outside of comprehension that are able to, inflict pain and stuff on you.
Yeah.
And to really just lean into that, and, you could add more stuff from Lovecraft, You want to have Cthulhu be the final boss? I don't care. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and yeah, like I guess one of the things that like would have been more interesting to see in like the original game, which there were a lot of more Lovecraft inspired bosses that got cut because of time constraints. And I mean, like there really aren't that many bosses in the original Quake to begin
there's
with.
like 2.
Yeah, so like I guess that is a really big loss for the game. But yeah, like maybe more Elder God ish enemies, old ones.
You could add like those fish people in it,
Yeah, from Dagon or Dagon.
Yeah.
Um, maybe those weird cone-shaped guys with the lightning guns.
Oh yeah.
Which the lightning gun from Quake is from Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
just lean into the weird stuff.
Yeah, and then like maybe more like try to impress the sense of like just impermanence that's in a lot of his work, like just like not being able to
escape.
Yeah, escape. I was gonna say
themes of madness as well, that you're going insane as the game gets deeper and twister.
Yeah, I was gonna say like not being able to defeat what you're going up against, but that's kind of like that'd be kind of lame in a first-person shooter game. Like if it was a horror game, like a straight-on horror game, that'd be better. But yeah, stuff like that. Okay. Then one thing I kind of added was a single-player campaign that doesn't seem like an afterthought.
Yeah. So Quake 4 kind of suffers from this. The single-player campaign is not very good. I haven't actually played it, but it's not really praised by anyone I know.
Yeah. I mean, they did put a lot of thought into or a decent amount of thought into the original, like, single player, like, from Quake 1, but a lot of people don't really remember it as much because of, deathmatch.
Yeah, when people think of Quake, I think in the public eye, the thing they think of is the deathmatch arena, Quake 3 arena and stuff like that, playing online with people, because that was such a big thing when it came out, and because a lot of people don't think about the story mode, and the modern ones, Quake Champions, is just multiplayer. Yeah. So obviously, as you can tell, because we keep talking about the original Quake, we want to make sure that there's a lot of thought and stuff put into the single player as well as the multiplayer.
Yeah. Speaking of the single player, don't let Hugo write the story.
Dun dun dun! Come on, seriously, guys, don't let him do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to be a little bit more constructive with this. So one of the things that kind of pissed me off about, well, I shouldn't say pissed me off, that annoys me about Doom Eternal is just how, well, they made a big deal about the story and the press leading up to it, like the trailers and like at conventions and stuff. And they have all the cutscenes and stuff in the game. But one thing that I think they did pretty well was like all the like little logs you could find. Maybe dial it back to something like that. Something more akin to like how the story's told in Dark Souls. Where it's through item descriptions or like little logs like this, or kind of like how it was in the original Quake, you let the environment do the storytelling.
Yeah.
Because Quake is an even less complex game than Doom is, if you can imagine that. And you don't really need like this whole epic about Ranger fighting the Elder Gods, Shub-Niggurath, whatever will end up being the big bad in this remake. You don't need it. Yeah, it's just you're really overthinking this, and
with Quake, I really feel like less is more. I mean, if you explain everything that's in the realm of Quake, well, then will it make it less interesting and scary? Maybe, so like...
Yeah, and like even going back to Lovecraft, he doesn't explain everything in detail. He kind of left that up to the reader.
Yeah, his earlier work, a lot of times he wouldn't even describe what monsters look like. He's like, oh, it was just so terrible you couldn't even imagine it,
Yeah.
And that's what made those stories scary, was that you didn't know what they were after, what was going to kill you.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I think that's good, like for fans at least, because you know it could lead to a lot of discussion and
Mm-hmm.
debate. Like, yeah, like I mean, just like don't overthink
Yeah,
it
you
too
don't want
much.
to have. I mean, imagine like a stupid cutscene where like at the end of the game you have to fight an evil Quake Ranger and then like you die at the end because it turns out the Quake Ranger was actually like God or something stupid like that, and then you have like a first-person view funeral for Quake Ranger's funeral. Does that sound terrible? It does. It's a I. Oh, if we ever get around to the Ancient Gods, holy cow, what a bad ending. That's the main reason I don't want Hugo doing it. Be like, ah,
Hugo or the other three guys, because
yeah,
holy shit, they had four guys write the story.
4 guys to come up with that ending, which is just oh
Actually, to be fair, it might not have been all four. The four were for the main game, which
okay,
still didn't have the best story.
yeah,
But I know Hugo was involved with Ancient Gods because, of course,
mm-hmm.
and what the hell, man. Going to cutscenes. So yeah, no pointless cutscenes. One thing that I really liked about 2016 was that all the cutscenes were in first person, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like Half-Life, I guess.
Yeah,
Even though Half-Life didn't have cutscenes, it just had little like narrative things you saw in first
yeah.
person. So maybe something like that if you really need them. Um, but yeah, like still don't go overboard, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, bring back the classic monsters.
Oh, easily,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So
Bring them back, but update them as well, because as much as I love Quake, some of the monsters and even some of the weapons just don't feel as good to fight. The
yeah,
spawn,
bastard,
yeah. The vor,
bastard, oh bitch.
yeah.
I don't know if they're supposed to be female or not. I think they're female.
Yeah, I think they are female.
Yeah.
The shambler, nah, he's okay.
Yeah, surprisingly okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I guess since this is a more modern game and more modern hardware can handle a lot more monsters on the map, like I guess make them less beefy,
Yeah.
or either that or
Less
beef up
spongy at least.
spongy, yeah, or beef up some of the weapons because one of the I know this is Greg's biggest complaint, which is how friggin' weak the double barrel shotgun is. Which going up from Doom to Quake, you're like, oh, this is the super shotgun. I'm supposed to be able to take out like 48 grunts with this thing. No,
Nope.
you can barely take out one depending out on what range you're at.
Luckily, the super shotgun would return in Quake 2, but we're not talking about a Quake 2 remake. We're just talking about a Quake 1 remake.
Right. So yeah, like, well, actually, no, that's actually a good idea because Quake 2 did have like more of a Doomish type
Oh, yeah,
arsenal.
the super shotgun in Quake 2 is awesome. It kills everything.
Yep. And then they also added the railgun and then like a BFG type weapon, which
Mm-hmm.
Quake surprisingly lacked.
Yeah.
Which they were supposed to have like a chain lightning gun to be like an
Mm-hmm.
improvement on the original lightning gun, but that got scrapped, and I think it almost got recycled into that hammer weapon in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first map pack. But yeah, maybe like definitely keep the original weapons, but also like add in a couple more to kind of even it out, beef up a
Mm-hmm.
couple of them. Uh, yeah,
Yep.
my goodness.
All right. Was that everything?
I think that might about yeah.
Yep. So I guess in conclusion, Quake is an awesome game. I don't know if it's one of my favorite games, but it's one of the games I have the most respect for. Like on the Tower of Respect, it's hard to find a game I respect more than Quake. And it's been awesome that it's been getting a lot of love this year because it had its 25th anniversary. And I would be more than ecstatic to see a sweet remake. And these demands, they're not even that hard. We're not being too pushy here.
Nah. Hope you're
That's
taking
about it.
notes, Hugo,
Yep.
or Marty, or whoever. But yeah, so be sure to check out the other Quake videos we've done. We've done Quakemas
Twice.
twice, yeah, Quakemas 2020, and then Quakemas in July 2021, which was all thanks to Decino. And I know we didn't get a chance to say it in the video or ourselves, but thanks Decino for kind of putting that together. I
It
know
was a
you'll
lot of fun.
probably never hear this, but just want to say it anyway because
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. Even though most of the time we were just trying to spawn and not be jibbed instantly.
It was an experience I won't forget, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
That's it. All right. Stay tuned. We'll definitely have more podcasts coming up. Hopefully we'll have some good videos coming up, but no promises. And that's all we got. So I think we just might as well sign off now. I'm Robbie. And this is Connor.
Yeah.
Connor, do your best Shambler imitation. Just kidding. I don't even know what they sound like. All right, talk to you later. Bye. That was my face hitting the cement. There's blood everywhere.
I was trying to think of a Shambler impression to do.